Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday night at 7 o'clock. It's Garnet and Old. As usual, it's just me tonight, everybody. It's VC Noel, all by my lonesome tonight. Big Papa East is doing some family stuff this evening. He has not bailed on Garnet and Old. He's just, he got some stuff to do. But this is Garnet and Old. It's no inside info, no contacts, no problem. And we got a lot of great things to talk about today. Ironically, maybe shockingly, we've got some good things to talk about. We're going to get to all of that today. I'm going to ask everyone to give me a little bit of grace this evening as I'm doing multiple jobs, as I'm the only one here this evening. So if it takes me a while to get to your comments or whatever, I promise you I will get to them. A little bit of patience. A little bit of patience. Just think about this whole season. A little bit of patience this season, and our patience seems to be paying off to a certain degree. So let's start with. I want to briefly talk about the Florida game. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that is like behind us. But I would at least like to state that all things being equal, if we had even a below average offense, that game is hanging in the balance late. Maybe if you don't fumble, 8 times, maybe if you only fumble, 5 times, maybe the game is close late. I'm at the game. I know a lot of you were at the game as well. Weather fantastic. But it's just like this whole season was all about, as soon as we would do something halfway decent, some bad juju would befall the team. Some of it of their own making, some of it just kind of the football gods. So, but it is not, it's not lost on me that that Florida team is nothing special, and I knew that going into the game. But I got something on my hat there. There we go. I didn't expect to win the game, but as the game progressed, I'm like, man, just get out of our own way a little bit, and that game is potentially something that they could have pulled out. But that's not what the 2024 Florida State Seminole team is all about. The Florida State team of this year is more about what could possibly go wrong is going to go wrong, and now the season is over and done with. Thank heavens, the season is over and done with. So that's enough of the Florida game. If anyone wants to bring anything up about that in the comment section, I'll definitely bring those points up and we can talk about them. I will also say this because I spend a lot of time talking about how this school is so I'm personally attached to this school, and all my family went there, and I have a lot of really horrid memories about going to Gainesville and going to Miami and all the bad things. I just want to call out my neighbor who lives right across the street from me. Just a fantastic Gator. And so they do exist. And I'm sure they say the same thing about us. Like, there are some good Noles that exist too, but I just want to shout out my neighbor. He's just a fantastic guy, and his family is great. So let's just call out some people in the chat here real quick. Brett Taylor, thank you for joining us tonight, as you do almost every week. Mar Chief 1, I don't know if I'm the man, but I appreciate that. Rockin' Noel, I watched your show. I watched your stream early this morning. Well, it might have been this morning. but I couldn't chime in at the time. But you're doing great work there as well. If you're not following Rock and Noel, make sure you do that. He's got his own YouTube show, and it's not just about Florida State. He does some vlog stuff in general. It's really, really great stuff. But let me pull up some comments here from Brett Taylor. We'll start there. Last 72 hours have been the first thing to feel good about for FSU since September. I'm telling you what, football wise, there hasn't been much, right? Or any at all. And as this season has progressed, I'll just say that I wasn't expecting anything of consequence to happen on recruiting week here. But some good things did happen. So we'll talk about that. Brett Taylor also says he's recruiting guys to enter the portal. You can tell us, Vince. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the comments that he made, about the interviews he's having, his exit interviews with members on the team, some guys are not going to have the choice on whether they get to stay or not. It's about what you've shown, what you've put on tape, what you've put out in front of people, the actions you take. So it's not just about words. So I'll be interested to see that happen. I mean, I don't like to see anyone necessarily, go down a wrong path and then have to have the consequences of that. But that's kind of the way the world works. Mar Chief 1, it's Chico. Okay, Chico. Mar Chief 1 is Chico. That is a long-time friend of mine from back in my Nole days as a marching chief. Great dude. A great pastor, by the way, in Georgia. If you know Chico, you may or may not know him. New to this, I guess this is referring to forgetting about the season. Done, over, already forgotten about. Yes. The one thing, there's a couple things I don't want to forget about though, because Dublin was amazing, and I'm not trying to rub that in if those of you that couldn't go or whatever, but let me just say I had fun for you. I had enough Guinness for you as well, and some other things too. So being in Dublin, it's the first time I had gone there. In Ireland, it's the first time I'd been. It was amazing, game aside. So I don't want to forget about that because that was amazing. It was an amazing experience. Brett Taylor says, in the words of Bill Belichick, we're on to Bama. Apparently, Bill Belichick is either have talked to North Carolina about their opening, their head coaching job. I don't know, man. I guess. I mean, he's obviously a Hall of Fame pro coach and all that, but I think, I'm an old guy too, right? But I don't think UNC should be looking to replace Mac Brown with a coach that's older than that. So, Big 12 Mafia looking great at Seminoles. Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that. I'm recovering from the depression of the season. So I appreciate that. Elijah Barrera says FSU coming in and flipping Usman Kroma from Georgia was impressive. Yeah, some recruiting talk we need to get to for sure. All right, so let's get to some of it, and we'll get to more comments here in a little bit. Let's start with the coordinators. The first positive things that have come up, recently since the season has completed. There was a contingent of people out there that thought that, and I was not one of them, that thought Florida State was going to have a hard time finding any coordinators of any kind of consequence or experience or success because of the season that we just had, and because of the thought possibly that who would want to go to Florida State and and sign on as a coach there, thinking that it's possible that Mike Norvell is on the hot seat. So why would you make that move? Why would you possibly uproot your family and all this stuff and make that move? I wasn't worried about that at all, actually. And now, did I think we were going to get Tony White? No, I didn't think that. Did I think Gus Malzahn was going to be the choice on the offensive side of the ball? No, I did not think that either. I know some people had said that they had heard that was a possibility, but remember, everybody, Garnet Old is no inside info and no contacts. So we don't have that kind of inside knowledge. It's just from a logic perspective. I didn't think that was a possibility, taking someone that was a head coach from a Power 4 conference and become an offensive coordinator. I know it's happened in the past, and I get that. But let's just say what Mike Norvell said at the conclusion of the Florida game in the post-game presser, where he said, this is going to get fixed, and it's going to get fixed immediately. The man wasn't joking. The man wasn't joking. And so from a Gus Malzahn perspective, yes, he was probably going to be looking to be let go there, I would think. He didn't have the greatest season there. But, it made sense. Norvell is an offshoot of the Malzahn tree. Everybody hears all this all the time. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. And so there's a lot of familiarity there. And for those of you that say, or maybe those of you that think he's too, quote unquote, too old, I think he's only 59, right? Or 57 or something like that. Like, if you're saying that, then you're really talking about this guy right here, right? And I know I call myself old all the time, and that's more of the moniker, but I don't feel old, right? I don't feel like I am behind the times. I don't feel like I can't relate to the younger generation, although my kids probably would argue that. And Gus Malzahn is not that far removed from being, one of the most talked about and innovative offensive minds in the country. And many media people have said this, and I'm of the opinion of this as well. Would I want Gus Malzahn to be our head coach? Absolutely not. But an offensive coordinator? Yeah. The guy finds a way to run the ball, regardless of who he has, regardless of the talent he has, and Lord knows we could use it. So that remains to be seen, right? How this all pans out. But I was particularly a little bit shocked that Gus Malzahn was the choice. Whether he was the first or second choice, I don't know that we'll ever know that. But I was originally like, but then thinking about it and listening to some other people talk about it kind of swayed me to the other side. I'm kind of excited about it. We'll see how it plays out. Jump in here, get a couple more comments so I don't get too far behind. Zendale, hashtag go Noles. I haven't met a good Gator yet. Well, I'm not saying they're plentiful, Zendale. I'm just saying my life, I've happened to be blessed with a number of them. There's some family members that I have that are really good Gators, and some folks that I went to high school with ended up going to Florida and are great friends to this day. And so, we're able to, but that's kind of what this is all about, right? If you have people in your life that you deal with on a personal level and face to face, or maybe in person, it's very much different than the nonsense you get on X and Facebook and all these other spots. So, R. Wilmer, sorry, late getting in. What did I miss? The only thing you've really missed, I think, is the tagline at the beginning, and then me some brief talk about the Gator game. KH, Randy Shannon finally let go today. Yeah, I don't know that they've officially announced that yet, but all the media outlets are reporting that this is done. I'm not shocked. Please tell me no one that's watching right now is shocked by this development. Yeah, there's no way you could be shocked by that development. And Randy Shannon, I said this not in the last show, maybe 2 shows ago, for the coaches that are being let go. I don't feel bad for them. Do I wish things could have worked out and, kumbaya, everybody were winning national championships with his staff every other year? Sure. But they're well compensated. I mean, well compensated. And they're well compensated going out the door because they're getting compensated for not having to work at all. So I don't have any oh, woe is me about the coaches that are leaving. So let's see. Any word on the wide receiver and OL coach yet? I haven't heard anything about either one of those. And even though, Big Papa East and I say all the time we have no inside info and no contacts, we do occasionally get some information. I have not received anything or heard anybody talk of any consequence about the new wide receiver coach. The only thing about the OL coach is that there was speculation early on when Gus Malzahn was chosen that his offensive line coach that has been with him on several stops would be coming along for the ride, and that is Herb Hand. But I haven't seen anything about that yet, unless, typically what will happen now, it's probably too late in the day for the school to put any kind of release out. So maybe tomorrow we'll hear about that. I do think it's maybe kind of a shame that we couldn't, if it is Herb Hand, that we couldn't have locked that up quicker, because it's possible that it might have changed Solomon Thomas's mind, maybe, but who knows about that. But no word on that yet. New to this, back in. Great comments, everybody, by the way. This is keeping the show flowing. Glad they kept Odell around if he decides to stay. Hey, that may be, from a nostalgia standpoint, that may be the thing that my heart is beating the strongest about, because I am very happy with, Tony White, who is the new defensive coordinator. And again, back to my original comment about Florida State, people worried about not being able to get top-notch folks. Tony White is an absolute A+ hire. It's almost a coup, right, to get the defensive coordinator of his caliber from a power 2 team. You say it's a lateral move because it's the same title, but it's probably not a lateral move because of the upward trajectory and the possibilities at Florida State, where, it's not the mid-90s. Things are different now. Nebraska has a tougher road to hoe about recruiting and those kind of things. So, and there's some rumblings that there was some issues between him and the head coach. Who knows about that? But very excited to get him. And then along with that, Terrence Knighton, pot roast. So if you're not familiar, if you've seen everybody talking about pot roast, that's his nickname. And so that's why you're seeing everybody talk about pot roast. That's why it was on our graphic. So that's his nickname. And so when I was very excited for that, but the other side of me is like going back to the Odell thing. What happens with Odell then? And, is he going to retire? And again, he's not that much older than I am. Now he has the financial wherewithal to retire where I do not. But I wanted it to be either he was going to retire because that's what his plan always was to retire, or if he was going to stick around, that it was something that that warrants who he is and who he has been to this program, as a player, as a coach, as an interim head coach, just as like a foundational piece of this program. He is a connection to the roots. He's a connection to the roots of the program. And you know what they did? They did exactly that. And so if you haven't been following along, and I know not everybody can follow this stuff, all day long, Odell is taking on a new role, associate head coach, where he is going to be confidant for Coach Norvell and all the coaches, trying to make sure or ensuring that, the integrity of the program, the foundational principles of the program, the standard. We always talk about the standard is the standard, that the standard is maintained throughout support staff, coaching, recruiting, players, and all that. He embodies it all. He embodies it all. I have only met Odell once or twice, I think twice in my life. And unfortunately, because I would love to, like many of us would, I would love to sit down next to him and just shoot the breeze. I'm not much of a fisherman, so I don't know if he would have time for me, but he probably would. But I met him one time here in Jacksonville, back in the old days on National Signing Day. They would have an end of National Signing Day event at a place here in Jacksonville, and the Seminole Boosters, the Jacksonville Boosters, the Booster Club, would rent out this room, and it would be anybody that really was involved in National Signing Day, and you paid like $10 or whatever, and they had a buffet, and they had Seminole gear that you could buy. And invariably, a coach would come, or sometimes it would be a former player. But I remember one particular year, actually, I think it was one year it was James Coleman and Odell. And that was one time I got to meet Odell and talk to him. And just, I don't know, I felt like I knew him for my whole life. But anyway, back to the main point of it. Perfect role for him. And remember, there's really no limits anymore on guys that can quote coach on the field. Like all those rules that used to be in place about you can only have so many on-field coaches, or they can't coach players or whatever. Like all that is kind of like by the wayside. So he can still do some of that stuff, but he can spend most of his time doing what I think he does best, and that is growing people and mentoring people, and being a torch, that everybody can gravitate towards. So I'm glad they kept Odell. That's a long-winded answer to that comment. New to this, R. Wilmer, I'm giving a tip of the hat to Mike. current and new staff. What an unbelievable comeback in a short amount of time to land the young men we did. Great job, everyone, and the battle's end. Agreed. So, the whole thing about our YouTube thumbnail, like the show thumbnail, was about the turnaround has begun. And, like I said, Norvell said it was going to be fast. Things aren't completely fixed yet. It takes a while to fix the things because obviously, the main thing is that the players have to get better. They have to buy in and get better, and we have to build these relationships with the new staff and all that. I get that. But the first thing you got to do is get the right staff in place. And I think we've made great strides with that, and there's more to come. And then the next thing is getting the right players. I think a couple days ago when I looked at some recruiting rankings, and I'm not as much into recruiting rankings as I used to be, like long ago. But I think we were in the 50s, 55, 57, we're just losing, quote unquote commitments left and right. And so going into today, or yesterday, I should say, I had I didn't even want to, I had no excitement about following it at all, because I just figured it would be, a transition time and we weren't going to have any excitement at all. Totally wrong about that. The fact that we were able to keep some of the guys that I thought were probably going to bolt, like Kevin Wynn, it's amazing. It's amazing work in a short amount of time. The fact that you were able to get some people to flip, like Usman Kroma, that's the real deal, people. He probably shouldn't be a 4-star. He probably should be a 5-star. But that is a big deal. Everybody always wants to talk about the people that we didn't get, because that's the way society is, right? Glass half full, glass half empty, to quote Brian Kelly from earlier today or yesterday. I choose to be half full a lot in my life. And yesterday we signed 18 high school recruits, and the recruiting rankings, depending on which one you look at, were anywhere from I think 24 to 27. So we went from being, recruiting ranking wise, ridiculously bad. There's no way Florida State should ever finish in that realm. It just shouldn't happen. To a highly respectable class, one that you should be very excited about, and a lot of because of the fact that it's not over yet, and there are still some opportunities out there from the high school ranks. I think that the new additions to the staff are a heavy part of this. There's excitement. There's renewed excitement about what this staff is going to be able to do. So if there's any particular recruit you want to talk about, put it in the chat there. I'm not gonna list them, or I'm not gonna talk specifically about every one of them. That would be a very long show, and there are a lot of shows that do that. This just is not one of them. But keeping Wynn, big deal. Flipping Kroma, big deal. Keeping Chase Lofton, I think, is a huge deal. A bunch of really big receivers. It's amazing, right? And so and I haven't heard the latest on Josh Petty yet. I think I saw something that he was actually going to finally sign with Georgia Tech. I don't know if that's happened yet or not, but Solomon Thomas, did sign with LSU. Raise your hand if you're shocked by that. There should be no hands going up. The moment Alex Atkins was announced that he was no longer going to be the coach, the kid tweeted out that Florida State made a mistake by letting him go. So, that was an uphill battle there. So, but but there are some other options out there as well, as far as high school kids that have not committed yet, and they have till tomorrow, I believe, for the early signing period. So 18. That's more than I thought would happen because of the season we had. And it's also a higher quality than I thought we would be able to attain because of the season we had. Couple things about that. It's mostly Noles in here, and I get that. There might be some rivals in here or whatever. Welcome, by the way, welcome. Might be some haters in here. Welcome to you too, as long as you're respectful. I'm okay with it. People say this, you hear this all the time or see this on Twitter or whatever, that the logo holds weight. It does. It does. It's not the only logo that holds weight. I'm not one of those people saying, the Seminole logo is the only one that does. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the Seminole logo holds weight, and kids want to play here. And kids get excited about putting on the Garnet Gold, and kids get excited about wearing the spear on the helmet. It's just the truth. So I shouldn't have been too shocked. I think I was mostly shocked of the significant rise in the rankings from the 50s into the 20s. So just that big turnaround. So KH says first game next year, Alabama. Yeah, it is Alabama. Alabama's not great, by the way. They're better than we are, and significantly better than we are right now, for sure. But they're not a great team. They lost 3 games this season, and they lost to Vanderbilt, and they lost to Oklahoma. They got brutalized by Oklahoma, who is not a great team at all. They have a ton of people get hurt this year, which the Noles know a lot about. But yeah, Alabama's not great, and so they have problems too. As sitting here right now, I would expect us to not win that game, but we'll see how the offseason goes, right? Dublin was week 0, so was preseason. Yeah, that's true. The preseason was great. I loved the preseason. The preseason before the game actually started. R. Wilmer, yes, it's great that Odell will still be affiliated with FSU football. Agreed. Agreed on that. And by the way, I'm kind of off kilter here. The Captain Black Fishing Studios. I forgot to mention it. My buddy John Black. If you're looking for some charter fishing opportunities in the Panama City Beach area, John Black at Captain Black Fishing Studios is who you want to call. The guy is top notch. You can make great memories with your friends, your coworkers, your family, whatever you want to do. If you're looking for some charter fishing, he's the guy to go to if you're going to be out that way. I've never been charter fishing, so I probably need to hit him up because I think I would enjoy that. I'm gonna put this up here because this is not disrespectful so much. William Green, losing seasons as long as Novella's here, delusional. I mean, as college football fans, isn't being delusional part of the passion? So that's fine. William Green also says Alabama 45, FSU 10. Doubtful. Like I said, I would not expect currently right now to win that game, but I also believe that Florida State's string of offensive ineptitude scoring points completed last Saturday with the new staff that we have coming in. I'm not saying that we're going to score 80 points a game, but lots of comments. Awesome, people. This is not Saban's Alabama. Been hearing that the quarterback and others may seek different pastures to roam in next season. Not worried about Bama. They got everything to lose, and we got everything to gain. And yeah, again, Bama doesn't scare me, never has. So if we played them this year, yeah, we'd get trounced. But people, we lost to Memphis this year, So yeah, we would. Alabama would beat us pretty bad this year. But that's the beauty of a season living in and of itself. You're going to have a whole bunch of new people on this roster and new people coaching them up. So, let's see here. I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while. I know Ryan is planning on doing a members only show this weekend. He's kind of paying me back for not being part of the show today. In that light, I am going to gift some memberships. I'm going to gift 5 memberships right now to the people watching on YouTube. So here you go. First come, first serve. I'm gifting 5 memberships right now. So be on the lookout for those. Moving on. R. Wilmer also says, plus the Gus Bus has been a Bama killer in the past when they were. I get to show these on the scene. Let's see how this works. I get to show like who the actual. Oh yeah, look at that. That's cool. Yeah, Gus Malzahn didn't seem to have too much problem with Bama when he was at Auburn. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what his record was, but it was better than most other SEC teams. So there you go. R. Wilmer also says, help these guys out. Hit the like button. Yeah, I always forget to say that. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button if you don't mind. Running solo here, people. So give me some positive vibes. Go onto YouTube right now. Hit the thumb. Grab the link. Share it out. It helps us out a lot. I am not too proud to tell you that we've lost subscribers on this channel in the last couple months. Not many, but YouTube Studio will tell you what your trends are, and I would like to think that it's just people tired of hearing about the losing. But if it's something about the way Ryan and I produce the show or whatever that you want to see some different kind of content, let us know that too, because we're always looking for new things to do. Let's see. Yeah, so people were talking about when I asked if anyone was shocked whether Randy Shannon would be let go. Brett Taylor saying I would not be shocked if every assistant would be let go. And then K-Dog 350 says not shocked at all. So yeah, I mean, there's the consequences of the season. There's the consequences of the production or the lack of production. It's just the way the world works. So moving on here. Tim Ship, my brother, just became a member. Thank you, Tim Ship. Tim Ship is a good friend of mine. We used to work together. Now Tim Ship lives in the great white Northeast of this fine country, and probably wearing multiple layers of clothes right now. But thank you, Tim, for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Tomcat says, I'll trade one Thomas for no Atkins. So I've seen people say this too. It's more important to get the right offensive line coach hire, to get the right person hired, than it is to acquiesce to make a decision just because you want to get this kid to commit. Would love to have had him, but we got to think long term here, people. Brett Taylor says, love me some pot roast. I love pot roast too. I think I'm going to love pot roast the coach. I think. I'm pretty sure about that. But in general, I love pot roast because it's a fantastic meal, and it's a fantastic meal this time of year. So make yourself some pot roast. Flip receiver. Yeah, we flipped the receiver from Florida. His name escapes me right now. But yeah, they were, Florida, got to give them credit. Got to give them credit where credit is due. They got some juice on the trail, on the recruiting trail. They're getting people to flip to them. And some of our guys flip to them. Some of the kids that were committed to us. But this stuff is kind of turnabout is fair play. And of course, just like every fan base says, when someone flips from you to another team, it's always because they offered him more money, or because we didn't want him anyway, or because, he doesn't like the competition. That's why he's going to. So there's always a reason why someone would not choose your school. And Florida State fans are no different when it comes to that. Mahi Griller, welcome, Mahi Griller. I missed you. You were in Tallahassee on Tuesday night. I was there last night, so I know you were there for the Prism concert Tuesday night. I was there at the Prism concert, not Prison concert, last night. The absolute key is to negotiating the changing landscape of replenishing a roster means recruiting, transfers, staffing. I think he knows what to do. Prism was awesome. Yes, Prism was awesome. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's band related. If you ever get the opportunity to be in Tallahassee during the first week of December, after the Florida game, before the ACC title game, the College of Music puts on a 2 to 2.5 hour performance. It is like it's an assault. It's an assault in a good way. It's an assault to your eyes and your ears in a good way at Ruby Diamond. You will not be disappointed. It's a life-changing experience when people see something like that. So if you ever get the opportunity, the tickets are hard to get. They sell out within days. And it's the whole College of Music, including the Chiefs. And so you go and you're in the auditorium, and it's just, it's a good time. So you should do it. You should do it. Tomcat, little sticking it to the rival here. No ACC for the U. Doesn't look like it, right? And I don't know if my buddy Raj is watching the show tonight. Like I've said, I have some good friends that are from a rival team, and Raj is a big time Miami guy. And they had a great season, but not great enough. And it's their own fault that they couldn't close it out. They spent a lot of money to be able to close it out, and they didn't do it. And now you see them all, not all, but a lot of them complaining about how the committee is dealing with them. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Finally, the rest of the college football world that's not in the SEC and the Big Ten, but even some of them too, by the way, because they're also seeing within their own family that certain teams get way too much benefit of the doubt. But welcome to the reality show, the wrestling WWE that is college football now, where you have a committee of tainted human beings deciding who gets to play for a fake championship. Welcome. You hear a lot of people talking about it now. The only people now that are propping it up as legit, the only people that I've seen are SEC people and a couple of Big Ten people. Not a lot of Big Ten people, mostly just SEC people. because the myth is unraveling. I got into a little bit of back and forth on social media with someone today about the myth. If you follow me on X, go look for it. About the myth of the SEC. I'm not an absolute kind of guy, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think the SEC is terrible. I think the SEC invariably has been the best of the conferences. But the degree that they've been better than the other conferences is this. It's not this. And it hasn't been. Rarely. There may have been a season once or twice over the last 30 years that it's been this kind of discrepancy. Most of the time it's not. But, the media pushes it that way, and people that are unable to think for themselves just latch onto that. And so it's this self-fulfilling prophecy about, well, we beat all these ranked teams because the SEC is so tough. Yeah, but the SEC have ranked teams because people think that they're better than everybody, so they rank them early in the season. So yeah, they were ranked, but they shouldn't have been, because they're nowhere near as head and shoulders above the other conferences. They're just not. Do they make more money? Yes, they do make more money. That is a fact. You can't argue that, and that is a fact. Take Georgia, for example. Got a good buddy that's a Georgia fan, diehard Georgia fan, a couple of them, but one in particular. It took Georgia an almost record number of overtimes and some really questionable calls from the officiating for them to skate by a middle of the pack ACC team. That screams myth to me. And, you say, well, it's a rivalry game. But no, you can't keep putting caveats trying to define your dominance. This is why college football currently right now is really tough to stomach. There's a lot of we're better than you, and not just we're better than you, like you shouldn't even play in our sandbox kind of talk, which is, whatever. The logo got these coaches. Yeah, like I said, the logo holds weight, not just for recruiting, but also for coaches as well. Kingsley and I already talked about the O-line and the wide receiver coaches. I haven't heard anything about that. So I don't think anything has happened when it comes to that. I'm sure there are negotiations going on behind the scenes. Tim Ship asks, could some of the recruiting and preconceptions be due to all the ACC issues? Remember, I'm not a Nole guy. Yeah, if you think about it, these recruits, these high school kids right now, the only thing they've heard their whole life, from the time they were able to understand football, is that the SEC is far and away the best conference. And you want to go play for the SEC because they have the best teams. The worst team in the SEC can beat the ACC champion, 8 out of 10 times, that kind of nonsense. So that's all they've heard. So when you filled people's minds with nonsense, they're going to make decisions based on the nonsense. So I don't blame them. It's not their fault. That's all they've been hearing. It's a marketing. The SEC, if anything else, has been marketing circles around everyone else. Is it a paper tiger? Most of the time it is. Most of the time. So that's why. Brett Taylor says, I still think we take 50 from portal, JUCO. That's the only way we get to 105. Yeah, so he says 105. So remember, if you're not following college football to the degree that some others are, It's no longer an 85 scholarship limit. The limit is now 105 people on the roster. So, you're going to have way more ability to stack with talent, provided you have the money to do so, right? Let's see. This is the membership. So, yeah, King Spleen got a membership. Congratulations, King Spleen. Vontae B got a membership when I gifted them. Cody Johnson got a membership. Grillmaster got a membership. And K-Dog 350 got a membership. So congratulations, you guys. Those last for a month. And if you want to renew, you can. The deal with the memberships is Ryan and I try to do 2 members-only shows a month. And those are only for the members. And the content that's in those shows is a little bit different. It's more of Ryan and I just taking deeper dives on the specific topics, where this show is kind of like a more umbrella type of show. New to this says 6 to 8 wins next season is probably acceptable depending on portal. 10 shouldn't be out of the question. There's no way I'm saying 10. There's no way. I would say the men at this point, I would say bowl eligible for next year. With the changes to the staff, I think that is reasonable. And then we'll see what happens with the remaining recruiting class and the portal guys that we bring in. A lot of guys going into the portal. A lot, and a lot of quality talent going into the portal. You just got to find a way to, filter them out, figure out the ones that fit you the best, have enough money to deal with it, and get them in here. And when I say fit the best, I just don't mean how they play football. I mean guys that want to compete, that want to turn this thing around. Shout out to the Battle's End. If any of you are members of the Battle's End, thank you. I'll just say thank you as a Nole. I'm a member of the Battle's End, and whether you choose to do that or not is up to you, of course. And whatever level you choose is up to you. And I know a lot of people, not a lot, but there were people, talking about how they were going to cancel their Battle's End membership or their NIL, whichever collective you're going with. We're going to cancel it because the season was so poor. I'm not saying, you do what you obviously do what you want to do with the money that you make. But the Battle's End didn't pick the players. The Battle's End, provided the funds for the roster that the coaching staff wanted. So keep that in mind. They don't pick the players. So I will not back off my support. And I told Ingram in a tweet, I said, it is never a good time to back out of your support. It's time to, keep pushing forward. Okay, moving on. Yeah, King Spleen. So I asked this question a few minutes ago. As per 247, Josh Petty has yet to sign with Georgia Tech. I'm not saying we're going to get Josh Petty. I'm just saying he hasn't signed yet, and he was supposed to sign yesterday. So if it turns out, great. If it doesn't, I wasn't expecting him anyway. That's the way you need to look at this. Don't let the fact that he hasn't signed all of a sudden change your perspective. It's the only way to get through this kind of college football passion without your blood pressure going through the roof. Brett Taylor says Sankey will use the Bama snub as an excuse to break away with the Big Ten and form their own Super League. At this point, I don't care. I mean, it's not a real championship anyway. And I had read something about presidents and whoever about from the ACC and the Big 12 and some other leagues meeting in Texas recently to talk about some other possibilities. I don't know if anything would come of that, but Florida State is not going to get left out of whatever the new landscape is going to be. It's just not going to get left out. So I'm not worried about it per se. In the meantime, though, we've got to deal with, Sankey's segment, the Sankey segment on ESPN. I don't think he's had it yet. It should be coming up though. After the championship game, you should see, I think Sankey's scheduled to be on ESPN for 30 minutes straight, just him to stump. No, I'm making that up. But don't be shocked if it happens. Douglas, what up, fellas? Been a rough season. Yes, Douglas, it has been. Thank you for watching the show like you always do. Brett Taylor says, so far only 2 Noles in the portal. Anderson and Deuce Span. There's actually been a couple others, but I think they've been scout team or walk-ons are the only other ones that I've seen. Is Missouri better than Duke? No, I don't think so. But we wouldn't know unless I'm not going to hypothetical because that's what all these other folks do. I'm not going to hypothetical. I will say if Mizzou played Duke, I wouldn't be shocked if either one of them won that game. But this goes back to what I was saying about the ranking system, right? Mizzou is ranked and Duke is not. Why is that? Ask yourself these questions. Why is that? The reason, in my opinion, is because that way an SEC team can say, well, we played all these ranked teams. And the ACC can't say that because Duke isn't ranked. So, but they're really pretty much the same team. Let's see. The answer to the college football pageant, if you're going to put CFP, I'm going to call it a pageant. The answer is to treat all of the conferences like they are on equal footing and not have a media partner dictate who is going to be in the playoffs because of the money they get to make. That's the key. So if you look at everybody wanted to make this like the pro game. And I know I'm running up on 8 o'clock here, a few more minutes. The deal with the pro game, though, is there are years where, the NFC North is better than the NFC whatever, and the AFC is better than the NFC in this particular area. But you don't look at the NFL as a whole and go, the NFC East is like, playing pro ball, and the AFC South is like Pop Warner. That mentality doesn't exist. We're on equal footing here. So if you win your division, you're in the playoff. And depending on your record, you may get a bye, right? That's not the way the pageant works. There are 2 leagues that are considered to be, just from a marketing standpoint, not because it's legitimate. There are 2 leagues that are considered to be way better than all the other leagues. And because of that, they give those leagues better time slots. They give their commissioners literally on-air time to stump for their leagues. The whole thing is literally wrestling. The whole thing is wrestling at this point. New to this says Miami should have been 7-5, maybe, but they're not. I mean, I'm okay with saying they're not. They're 10-2, or what are they? 10-2 or 9-3? I can't remember, but they're not. So if I don't think they're going into the playoffs, I don't think they deserve to get into the playoffs. They kind of stumbled, down the stretch. That's their own fault. But they did win 10 games. And if I'm going to say that wins matter, winning games matter, then I can't not say that, even if it's a rival. I mean, I'm gonna own that. I believe in that. I believe wins matter, and I believe losses matter. And get out of here with the good losses conversation. Let's see if I got any more comments here to talk about. Yes, we need to get out of the conference, R. Wilmer. Absolutely. And I do call it the CFI. I call it the CFI. And you should too. You should call it the Invitational as well, because that's what it is. And until it's not, that's what I'm going to call it. And I'm perfectly okay with understanding that the 3 championships that Florida State has won, national titles, I'm okay with saying they weren't true playoff championships. I'm okay with saying that. There's not been a championship yet in college football at the Division I level that's been a true equal playoff. Hasn't been one. But let's find a way to get there. So this has been a great show, everybody. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate the comments. It's been awesome. Ryan is planning on doing a members only show this weekend, and I may join him for that. I'm not sure what the plan is yet with that. But thank you for all the chat. Thank you if you went to YouTube and hit the like button. Thank you if you signed up for a membership. This has been Garnet and Old. No inside info, no contacts, no problem, and send Chiefs all the damn time.